You used to be able to sell buildings back in 2012, but now we can merge them. You had to wait of your troops training and spend resources for them, but now they are free and instant. Here are 10 features from the old Clash of Clans that are now totally different. Some of these you will wonder why they were even there in the first place. Let's start with selling buildings. Back when the game launched, you could sell things around your base, but it didn't make sense because the whole point in Clash of Clans is to build and progress your village. It wasn't really a great experience, and you could sell everything but your town hall. I know you're wondering about that. You would get a pop-up, but it wouldn't actually allow you to sell the building. Apart from one player managed to do so. This was changed not long after the game launched though, and over the next 11 years, there was more and more buildings getting added to Clash of Clans to the point where they had to expand the village multiple times. We went from a 38 by 38 tile village to a 40 by 40, then a 44 by 44 size village, and they equally started reducing
the size of some buildings.
Army camps used to be one tile larger. They reduced the number of barracks around the base, all to try and assure they did not run out of space, but eventually Clash of Clans had to come up with a solution. So now, rather than sell buildings, we can merge them. This was added with the release of Town Hall 16, giving us merged defenses, which are way more powerful, and these have continued to be added with newer Town Halls as well. There are so many other changes that are remarkably different from years gone by. We all know about luring defending clan castle troops to the edge of the base, so you can take them out outside of the range of defenses. But did you know you used to be able to do this with defending heroes? It was very common to send in a single hog rider to alert the barbarian king or archer queen, since they were the only two heroes in the game back when you could do this. And then if you could lure the clan castle at the same time, you could pull all of these troops to the edge of the map in order to take out the clan castle and the defending heroes. Sounds pretty powerful, right? Well, it was, because you could then use defense targeting troops such as hog riders. Well, that is actually once they made them defense targeting, because when they first released, they targeted everything. To steamroll the base, there was also a lot less splash around the base back then, so you could use healing spells to keep these alive. Fast forward to Clash of Clans, nowadays we have 6 heroes around the base, and even though you can't use all of them on defense, heroes have expanded so much, not just in the number of levels that you can upgrade the heroes. They have continued to cut the cost and time of these as we went through, but equipment is now added to the game as well, allowing us to switch out the hero abilities. Because back when heroes were added, they actually didn't even have abilities. This was added at a later date to make the heroes more exciting. Equipment now takes that to a whole new level, opening up way more strategic options. Equally, these options have expanded with new heroes. They launched with just the king and queen. Now there are 6 in total. Spells were not in the game when it first launched. These came a couple of months after. And there was no Dark Barracks either. The Dragons and P.E.K.K.A. were the strongest troops back in 2012. In fact, they were so strong that they made the Hidden Tesla deal 2 times damage against them. It wasn't until March of 2013 that we seen the Minion, Hog Rider, and Valkyries added. Clearly, over the last 13 years, there have been lots of new troops and spells added, too many for me to name them all clearly, as I failed miserably in this quiz video. Equally, you used to have to spend resources to cook up the troops and wait of them training. This was only changed in recent years. However, the cost and the time of these requirements were cut drastically over the 13 years. So back when they launched, you had to wait 45 minutes for a P.E.K.K.A. or a Golem. But check this out. 14 hours for a single lightning spell to brew. How did anyone ever attack in Clash of Clans? In the summer of 2022 though, nigh on 10 years after the game launched, no more spending resources to train troops, and then in 2025, since we do have pets, equipment, so many different aspects of our army, training time completely removed so that we could build recipes. Now we can instantly swap from one strategy to the next without waiting of those troops training up, so it allows a lot more variety in the attacks that we're using. For me, hands down, the best change in Clash of Clans, but even though I'm still going to show you some stark differences from old versus new, you can let me know your favorite change in the comments. Who remembers having their town hall off to the outside of the base? Giving it up for free, it meant nothing. This is because your town hall wasn't a storage, so there was no loot housed inside of the town hall. If your opponent would destroy it, you wouldn't lose any loot, and equally, you would gain a shield to protect your loot. Meanwhile, your opponent could easily gain trophies. This was a nice little exchange between the community, but Clash of Clans changed this by making your town hall a storage and assuring that you had to use a particular amount of your army before you would be granted a shield. There was a bit of upset in the community with this change because the game had ran like that for a number of years, but it definitely made sense. You should want to protect your town hall, and needless to say, that is what began to happen. The town halls would be in the center of the base, no more town hall sniping, and then with the release of Town Hall 12 just a few years later, this solidified the town hall being centralized and protected when it became a defense. Back in those days when the town hall was on the outside of the base though, one of my favorite things to do was sub 200 farming. It's equally cool because this change stopped around about when I started my YouTube channel with the introduction of Titan and Legend League.
What is up guys, Judo Sloth here.
So prior to Titan and Legend, Champions League was the highest area of the game at 3,200 trophies. However, if you dropped your trophies to below 200, you could only find players that were up to 2 town halls below you. If you were above 200 trophies, you would be finding low-level bases, and there was a loot penalty that applied. But below 200, you would be stuck with people around about your level, so you didn't have to worry about that loot penalty as much, and you could just next until you found loot on the outside of the base in the mines and pumps. It was also a really nice way to get the Unbreakable achievement for successfully defending 5,000 attacks, which was pretty difficult to achieve until recently, where they decreased the number to 500. They did that because multiplayer attacks are now split into 2 modes. You can't just drop down the leagues anymore, because in battle mode, there's no trophies. You just spam your troops in order to get loot, and in ranked battles, you are matched with 100 other players where offense and defense counts, and that is what determines what league you are in. Quite the difference than back in the sub 200 days. Equally, if we look at the amount of loot that was possible back when Town Hall 8, 9, even Town Hall 10, when that was the maximum, you would be happy with 200,000 gold and 200,000 elixir.
I tend to specifically farm gold, so I aim for 200,000 per raid, which I'll be happy with.
I remember doing the sub 200 farming where you would be searching and searching to find that 200,000 gold and elixir. Everyone had their own amount of loot they would aim for, but you would sit and next for 10 minutes to find a raid just like that. Nowadays, you can get 1 million, 2 million of gold and elixir. This was unheard of back when Clash of Clans launched. And the highest amount of loot possible? Hammer Jam of 2024. This is because they trebled the amount of loot you could house within your collectors. And if you did not know, there is a maximum amount that you can steal based on the storage level, but also how much loot is in the mines and pumps. And that is where you get most of the loot, since you can take a higher percentage of it from your opponent. Interestingly though, with Dark Elixir being the most precious resource, you can can steal more from the Dark Elixir drills, 75% in comparison to what you just seen, 50% out of gold mines and elixir collectors. That brings us across to the next old versus new comparison. Lightning spells on the Dark Elixir storages. Who remembers this one? Now, there are modern versions of this farming approach, but when Dark Elixir was introduced, it became the most scarce resource, and for a couple of years, people would literally use lightning spells on top of the Dark Elixir storage. It was pretty awesome as a player because if you didn't care about your trophies or you were sub 200 farming, you could literally just use lightning spells on top of the storage and easily get the loot. But clearly it was super annoying from the defending aspect because you couldn't protect it. Your Dark Elixir could be in the center of the base with every defense around it, and you could do nothing because the lightning spells would just steal it from above. Supercell put a stop to that in 2015 though, although it was kind of fun to look at your defense log afterwards and see players continuing to use this method, getting nothing out of those lightning spells. You might have noticed on the Reddit post from 11 years ago as well, those walls look a little bit different. Those are the old electric blue walls from Town Hall 10, still referenced to this day by the community. I'm going to be honest, I was a fan of them as well, but I equally do like the lava walls that they were changed into. And this is because every Town Hall has its own theme, so they changed the electric blue walls to match in more with the lava theme of Town Hall 10. This was prior to the release of Town Hall 11, where we then had a heavenly vibe with the Grand Warden added and the walls matched. This was then continued through each of the Town Halls, and they had a chance with Town Hall 12 to bring those electric walls back. But they didn't. Needless to say though, since then, the wall design is a major talking point with a new Town Hall release, and Supercell generally do a good job of this, but there's always suggestions from the community as to how to make them better. Right now, we are up to wall level 19, despite only being Town Hall 18. They're always that one level ahead, but I can't see them releasing a Town Hall without walls to sync this back up. As they release more Town Halls though, there are bases that become rarer and rarer. I'm talking about engineered bases. Many years ago, you did not have to build every single building before you upgraded your Town Hall. So there are bases out there that have a single level 1 cannon that was built with the tutorial, and that is the only defense they have. Unfortunately, they cannot upgrade past Town Hall 11 because they then brought in a rule whereby whenever there is new buildings unlocked with a Town Hall, you have to build all of those. You can leave them at level 1, but they have to be built before you upgrade the Town Hall. That rule was brought in prior to Town Hall 12, so that is why engineered bases with a single defense are stuck at Town Hall 11, but they are extremely rare. Maybe you will come across one from time to time. Since then, the amount of buildings around the base has continued to expand with each new Town Hall level, hence why, as we discussed earlier, merging is now a thing. The mergers are even a requirement to move up to Town Hall 17, and then the mergers of Town Hall 17 are required to go to Town Hall 18. Interestingly though, the only building in recent times that is not required is the crafting station. Since this is only available for the highest Town Hall level and has rotational defenses every couple of months, essentially when a new Town Hall comes out, that building is wiped and you have to rebuild it for free at the highest Town Hall level. With all of these Town Hall releases, the amount of upgrades for troops has increased drastically because we get new troop and defense levels at every Town Hall. However, many years ago, there was a star system to indicate the upgrade level of each troop. This was naturally changed because it could have got pretty messy based on the amount of troop levels. Now it is just a number, which is way cleaner to see the level of each of your troops. This is not the only UI change that we've seen in recent times, because this last point in the video, I'm going to have as a bonus, rattle off a bunch of quick changes from old to new Clash of Clans. Whether it be the graphics themselves that have upgraded, or those UI elements such as the troop levels, there are numerous other examples around the village. Whether that be from your troop training, the battle log, the attack screen, your profile, to any of the items in the shop, the UI is so much more cleaner than what it was back when the game launched. Graphically as well, that's not even mentioning the sceneries that we now have to swap out the default, and there are some pretty epic ones available, and the hero skins, which completely transform the appearance of any of your heroes. Continuing with some quick ones, who remembers having to rearm traps? You would have to spend resources to rearm your Expos, Inferno Towers, the Eagle Artillery, otherwise they would just be useless. They wouldn't do anything on defense. It was just annoying and an element where you didn't need to waste resources on that. So that is completely gone. Clouding, forever and ever and ever waiting to try and find bases. This was changed in 2019 with the original Legend League, so maybe people can't remember the amount of clouds you would have back then unless you played the game many years ago. Again, with any of these changes, so you can let me know in the comments. But even since the addition of Legend League, that is now changed again when it comes to ranked. Legend is very similar, but the multiplayer attacking system overhauled completely in 2025. Talking about your traps being useless, this one was even worse. Who remembers when you could upgrade your barracks, but you actually couldn't train troops whilst you were upgrading the barracks? So if you upgraded, back then there was 4 barracks, you upgraded all of them, you were stuck. You couldn't train troops until those upgrades finished. How exciting Clash of Clans was back then. There are so many other changes that I could have included in this video. I wanted to keep it to generally those 10. I know I sidetracked here and there to give you some bonuses, but let me know which ones you remember down in the comments. And YouTube has a recommended video from my channel on your screen. They think you will like that one. Let's see if they are right. Enjoy the rest of your day.